Ladies and gentlemen, I'm fucking back. It's your boy. It's your boy. Asante Amin. I've been known as a lot of different things throughout the course of my life. My government, King Tut, Uncle Tutty, God, real nigga. Couple bros probably called me a fuck boy. Not too many though, you dig. You know, you got to go through them kind of experiences in order to grow and learn. As I said in previous posts, last week I said, man, what would it be like if I streamed every day in July? Like, what would be the outcome? Because I be seeing these little videos where people are like, man, I streamed every day for 6 months, or I uploaded to TikTok every day for 30 days, and it changed my life. And I'm the kind of person, like, I like transformation. I like growth. And I'm willing to do anything in order to grow. I am. I will go to some extreme lengths in order to grow. And I'm not scared of putting in work. I'm not scared of trying new shit. And as someone who's put in my 10,000 hours musically, as someone who prides himself on working hard, on grinding a lot, last year it really began to occur to me, like the toll of the grind really took effect on me, not only my body but my psyche. And I started to rethink and wonder, what the fuck was it really for? What am I doing this for? Because I did all of this work and I don't even have any money to show for it. I don't even have any material to show for it. And it's not even only about that. It's not strictly about that, but we live in a fucking America, dog. You need some ruples and coins. You heard me? Like, I like clean water. I like organic vegetables. That shit ain't, last time I checked, that shit ain't cheap. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not absolutely impoverished, you can't get food stamps, you can't get help. But I also got pride. Like, fuck that. I'm willing to work. But what do you do when you're working and it feels like you're not making any progress? So I started to, like, rethink approaches. And in me rethinking approaches, I started thinking about just like content and how content is a gold mine. But of course, you have to garner attention. People got to give a fuck. There's a lot of influence, impact, money. There's a lot of good that can be done in the social media space and the influence space and the digital space. But people got to give a fuck about your story. You have to be compelling. There's a lot of motherfuckers just screaming out into the void. And then there's just luck with this shit too, because I spend too much fucking time investigating strategy. Let's watch another video on it. Let's read another book on it. Like, nigga, which is ironic because I'm here to talk about a book today with y'all, The Artist Way. But I'm that kind of nigga. Let's watch another video on it. Let's listen to a TED Talk. Let's get another book on it. Nigga, you haven't got started. You're busy doing information overload. Right? We're information gluttons. We would rather study information about a thing rather than go put our hands on a fucking thing to learn about it. That's procrastination. You're pussy. You're scary. All you got to go do is put your hands on the motherfucking thing. Because everybody got a plan until they get hit in the fucking face. Mike Tyson said that. Yeah, everybody got a plan until they get hit in the fucking face. It's easier to pontificate. It's easier to philosophize. It's easier to, one day I'm going to get started. And when I get started, I'm going to get all of the information and I'm going to get myself ready and I'm going to get ready. And then by the time I get ready to do it, it's going to be right. No, nigga. No, nigga. One of the reasons I think violence is so important in life is you don't benefit from overthinking in the moment. You have to take action. And violent may not be the adequate term, but I just think about boxing. I just think about when you're engaging in a contact sport. You're not in a ring with a nigga like, hold on, let me go look at a YouTube video right quick. You hear me? Hold on, dog. Don't whoop my ass. Let me go holler at my mentor. Either you're prepared or you're not. And even if you're not prepared, you have to rely on your instincts. So now we've reached a critical moment where I'm saying, Asante, dog, you have the know-how. You've put in the hours. There is no replacement for taking action. Now is the time to rely upon your instincts. Either you have them or you don't. And you won't ever know if you really truly have the instincts if you don't put yourself in real life IRL situations. So here we are. So to that end, I said to myself, well, rather than thinking about streaming, rather than coming up with content ideas and just having a phone and never getting around to it, because that's what happens with my ass, we're just going to go for it, dog. We're going to go. We're going to come as we are. Ready or not, here I come. Bonnet on, late, musty, or clean, or short, whatever. We're going to live authentically, vulnerably, and we're going to show up for 30 days. And I thought to myself, well, what platform should I use? Because then that's the next thing. Just all of this pontificating, all of this shit to stop you from actually doing the thing. Because at first I was like, Streamlabs, OBS, StreamYard, which one should I use? Which one should I use? Which one should I get started on? And then, well, let me go do research. Let me look at some videos. And then ultimately it occurred to me, nigga, you just got to use them. And then through experience, you learn things. That's why there is no stand-in for just getting punched. There is no stand-in for putting your hands on something, feeling something. You can research, but you have to use things, and in your process, you'll see what works and what doesn't work. That's what's happening to me. I'm learning as I do it, and no amount of research could have prepared me for this, because as I'm running into new issues, then I can go research specific issues. But if you don't get started, you don't even have a vantage point. You don't even know what fucking questions to ask until you get started. So I said to myself, I wanted to fuck with the artist way, and I wanted to document the process. Now, I first found out about the artist way to TikTok. Shout out to TikTok, and I saw Doechii fucking with it, you hear me? And she did this 5 years ago, and of course, naturally, people say, well, Doechii did the artist way, and now she got a Grammy, so I'm gonna go do the shit. I'm not expecting a Grammy from this shit, but I'm expecting my creativity, my creative ability to be transformed. That's really all I'm looking for. I'm looking for transformation. Why do I study David Goggins? I was looking for transformation. Why did I study Malcolm X? I was looking for transformation. Why did I study Octavia Butler? I was looking for transformation. When I mean study, I'm talking about studying the works. And I think in order to really understand a motherfucker, you have to do what they did. So when I started studying Goggins, I started running marathons. I got in the gym. I started going crazy. Who will carry the boats? Fucking motherfucker, I'll carry the boats. Studying Malcolm, I stopped eating pork. I started studying Islam. I became a Muslim, right? Octavia Butler, same thing. I started reading the literature. I started writing more in that vein. I still want to do more. So it's important as you study people to actually embody the lessons. Don't just study it and be able to talk about it. You have to put the lessons into action. Philosophizing ain't enough, nigga. You'll get punched in your fucking mouth. You got to take action. You heard me? So we're going to get started, and I'm just going to read The Artist Way. And you all are going to come along with me for the journey. So today, all we're going to do is the intro. Okay? All we're going to do is the intro. Now, The Artist Way is a spiritual path to higher creativity by Julia Cameron. Let's get started. We're not going to read the motherfucking preface. We're going to go straight to the introduction. You heard me? Here we go. When people ask me what I do, I usually answer, I'm a writer, director, and I teach these creativity workshops. How can you teach creativity? They want to know. Defiance fight with curiosity on their faces. I can't, I tell them. I teach people to let themselves be creative. Oh, you mean we're all creative? Now disbelief and hope battle it out. Yes. You really believe that? Yes. So what do? This book is what I do. For a decade now, I've taught a spiritual workshop aimed at freeing people's creativity. I've taught artists and non-artists, painters and filmmakers and homemakers and lawyers. Anyone interested in living more creatively through practicing an art. Even more broadly, anyone interested in practicing the art of creative living. Oh my God. Already, she's speaking to my motherfucking soul. I've been saying so much lately, especially in the last year. It's not about a saxophone. It's not about a beat machine. It's not about a script. It's not about poetry. Life is the canvas and we're all painting. It's not about the medium. It's about the person wielding the brush. So anything could be an expression of your creativity, even social media. Let's keep it moving. I have taught artists, non-artists, painters, and filmmakers, and homemakers, and lawyers. Anyone interested in living more creatively through practicing an art, even more broadly. While using, teaching, and sharing tools I have found, devised, divined, and been handed, I've seen blocks dissolved and lives transformed by the simple process of engaging the great creator in discovering and recovering our spiritual powers. The great creator? That sounds like some Native American god. That sounds too Christian, too new age, too, stupid, simple-minded, threatening? I know. Think of it as an exercise in open-mindedness. Just think, okay, great, creator, whatever that is, and keep reading. Allow yourself to experiment with the idea that there might be a great creator and you might get some kind of use from it in freeing your own creativity. Because the artist way is, in essence, a spiritual path initiated and practiced through creativity. The artist way is, in essence, a spiritual path initiated and practiced through creativity. This book uses the word God. This may be volatile for some of you, conjuring old, unworkable, unpleasant, or simply unbelievable ideas about God as you were raised to understand him. Please be open-minded. This is so on point. This is so on point because as a creative, as an artist, this is absolutely spiritual work. And anytime somebody says, I'm a creator, or we live in a creator economy, I don't think people really reflect on the deeper meaning of calling yourself a creator, or understanding that we live in a world being crafted by creatives and creators. Like when I think of creator, when somebody says I am a creator, that means we're all walking around with God energy in order to transform our lives. And it's bigger than a fucking piece of content, because the ultimate piece of content is your fucking life. The ultimate piece of content is the quality of your relationships, the quality of the life you live. To me, it makes no fucking sense to be able to write a good song, but your fucking life sucks, or your children hate you, or you're sick and unhappy. Your life is the biggest, most important form of content, and we're all creatives in that way. The primary imagination I hold to be the living power. The primary imagination I hold to be the living power. Remind yourself that to succeed in this course, no God concept is necessary. In fact, many of our commonly held God concepts get in the way. Do not allow semantics to become one more block for you. When the word God is used in these pages, you may substitute the thought good, orderly direction or flow. When the word God is used in these pages, you may substitute the thought good, orderly direction, God, or flow. And who got more flow than niggas, dog? Well, everybody got flow. I don't want to restrict that to like niggas, but I'm just thinking about freestyle. Like the whole freestyle is predicated on flow. Like what we are talking about is a creative energy. God is useful shorthand for many of us, but so is goddess, mind, universe, source, and higher power. And I love that she said that, because these are all placeholders to think about a nameless, infinite consciousness. And I've met some people, I've talked to Christians, and I'll be like the universe, and they be like, no God. And I'm like, dog, why don't you fucking just relax, nigga? Like, people are so quick to superimpose their religious concepts on you, but it's like, really, we're all here learning as students. You know what I'm saying? So I love what she's saying. The point is that you try using it. For many of us, thinking of it as a form of spiritual electricity has been a very useful jumping off place. By the simple scientific approach of experimentation and observation, a workable connection with the flow of good orderly direction can be established. It is not the intent of these pages to engage in explaining, debating, or defining that flow. Niggas want to debate so bad, dog. Niggas want to debate more than they create, and that's the fucking problem. We wanna be critical more than we want to bear witness to miracles, and that's the fucking problem. Let me see. Experiencing all do not call it God unless that is comfortable for you. There seems to be no need to name it unless that name is a useful shorthand for what you experience. Do not pretend to believe when you do not. If you remain forever an atheist, agnostic, nigga, so be it. You will still be able to experience an altered life through working with these principles. And I think that bothers some people, the fact that God is the universe, whatever you metaphorize it as, has created principles and laws that whether you say God or not, if you work with the principles, you can be successful. That bothers a lot of people. I have worked artist to artist with potters, photographers, poets, screenwriters, dancers, novelists, actors, directors, and with those who knew only what they dreamed to be or who only dreamed of being somehow more creative. I have seen block painters paint, broken poets speak in tongues, halt and lame and maimed writers writing through final drafts. I have come to not only believe but know. No matter what your age or your life path, whether making art is your career or your hobby or your dream, it is not too late or too egotistical or too selfish or too silly to work on your creativity. One 50-year-old student who always wanted to write used these tools and emerged as a prize-winning playwright. A judge used these tools to fulfill his lifelong dream of sculpting. Not all students become full-time artists as a result of this course. In fact, many full-time artists report that they have become more creatively rounded into full-time people. To me, that's the goal. I'm not reading this book to try to read a Grammy. I'm not reading this book to receive an award musically. I'm reading this to become a more well-rounded human and to approach my life more creatively and to realize that ultimately, like I said, the highest form of art, your biggest masterpiece is your life. I want to create a beautiful life. I am creating a beautiful life through my creative aesthetic. Through my own experience and that of countless others that I have shared, I have come to believe that creativity is our true nature. That blocks are an unnatural thwarting of a process at once as normal and as miraculous as the blossoming of a flower at the end of a slender green stem. It's a nice sentence. I have found this process of making spiritual contact to be both simple and straightforward. Why indeed must God be a noun? Why not a verb? The most active and dynamic of it all. I love that. Why must God be a noun? Why not a verb? The most active and dynamic of all. I love that. If you are creatively blocked, and I believe all of us are to some extent, it is possible, even probable, that you can learn to create more freely through your willing use of the tools of this book provides. Just as doing hatha yoga stretches alters consciousness when all you are doing is stretching. Doing the exercises in this book alters consciousness when all you are doing is writing and playing. Do these things and a breakthrough will follow, whether you believe in it or not, whether you call it a spiritual awakening or not. In short, the theory doesn't matter as much as the practice itself. And that's what I was trying to say at the fucking top of this. We can theorize, we can be theoretical all the fuck we want, but practice is more important than theory because you don't really understand the fucking theory until you practice. You don't really understand the theory until you put it into practice. So if you sitting up just being a theoretician, philosophizing, you don't really fucking know shit. And there's a lot of fucking philosophizers on the internet. They'd rather hate than create. They'd rather be critical than give birth to a miracle. All right? In short, theory doesn't matter as much as the practice itself. What you're doing is creating pathways in your consciousness through which the creative forces can operate. Once you agree to clearing these paths, your creativity emerges. In a sense, your creativity is like your blood. Oh my God. In a sense, your creativity is like your blood. What this is making me think about and feel like is a lot of issues in our life, a lot of like mental illness is probably the result of our creativity being thwarted, being creatively constipated, not having those creative juices flowing, create mental issues, mental dis-ease. And I could bear witness to that. When I'm creatively flowing, I'm so happy and joyful. Even if I'm sad, even if I'm experiencing hardship, when I can create and express, it feels, it's freedom. Even if I'm in a fucked up situation. In a sense, your creativity is like your blood. Just as blood is a fact of your physical body and nothing you invented, creativity is a fact of your spiritual body and nothing that you must invent. You must just wow. Right? This is the same conversation I've been having with myself about abundance. Like, abundance is, you just let it flow. You become a conduit to allow it flow through you. My own journey. I began teaching the creativity workshops in New York. I taught them because I was told to teach them. One minute I was walking into the West Village on a cobblestone street with beautiful afternoon lights. The next minute, I suddenly knew that I should begin teaching people, groups of people, how to unblock. This is so crazy because this is a calling on my life too. And I've thought about this shit. But again, I've only thought about it. And I do teach. I am a teacher. It's not like I don't do anything. I have lessons up. I have a university with my amazing partner, Chin Lo. But I'm like, I have to do more. And I think about these things, but I don't take action. The next minute, I suddenly knew that I should begin teaching people, groups of people, how to unblock. Maybe it was a wish exhaled on somebody else's walk. Certainly, Greenwich Village must contain a greater density of artists, blocked and otherwise, than nearly any place else in America. I need to unblock. Someone may have breathed out. I know how to do it. I may have responded, picking up the cue. My life has always included strong internal directives, marching orders, I call them. Wow. In any case, I suddenly knew that I did know how to unblock people and that I was meant to do so. Starting then and there with the lessons I myself had learned. Where did the lesson come from? In 1978, in January, I stopped drinking. Congratulations to you. I stopped drinking 3 years ago. I stopped drinking. I had never thought drinking made me a writer, but now I suddenly thought not drinking might make me stop. This happens to many people. In my mind, drinking and writing went together like well, scotch and soda. For me, the trick was always getting past the fear and onto the page. I was playing beat the clock, trying to write before the booze closed in like fog and my window of creativity was blocked again. So many artists can relate to that. The feeling of needing a vice in order to be creative. By the time I was 30 and abruptly sober, I had an office on the Paramount lot and made a whole career out of that kind of creativity. Creativity in spasms. Creative as an act of will and ego. Creative on behalf of others. Creative, yes, but in spurts like blood from a severed carotid artery. A decade of writing, and all I knew was how to make these headlong dashes and hurl myself against all odds at the wall of whatever I was writing. If creativity was spiritual in any sense, it was only in its resemblance to a crucifixion. I fell upon the thorn of prose. I bled. That's deep. For many artists, creativity in the artist's life does feel like crucifixion. It feels like we're dying so that other people can live. It feels like we're hurting ourselves to create this art. And that's not a sustainable life. If I could have continued writing the old painful way, I would certainly still be doing it. The week I got sober, I had 2 national magazine pieces out, a newly minted feature script, and an alcohol problem I could not handle any longer. I told myself that if sobriety meant no creativity, I did not want to be sober. That's that one right there. That's crazy to me. She said, I told myself, what did she say? I told myself that if sobriety meant no creativity, I did not want to be sober. That's crazy. But as a creative, I've been there before. Listen, my grandpa developed emphysema, passed away. He used to be on an oxygen machine. And the doctor said, my nigga, you have to stop smoking. But he was so addicted to the pleasure it gave him. He said, I would rather, he never outright said this, but you can tell by people's actions. I would rather die than give up my vice. And many of us are like that. We would rather die than find a new way of living, a more productive way, because we're so addicted to dysfunction and the short-lived high it gives us. I told myself that if sobriety meant no creativity, I did not want to be sober. Yet I recognized that drinking would kill me and the creativity. I needed to learn to write sober or else give up writing entirely. Necessity, not virtue, was the beginning of my spirituality. That's a fucking bar. Even with my life, I think people see me. How did you get this way? How do you eat that way? How do you, the discipline? I'm like, nigga, I don't do this shit to be cute or to stand out. Necessity. My life was on the line. If I didn't change, I would be a fucking wreck. All right? My neighbor's listening to some Masego. It's my nigga. Necessity, not virtue, was the beginning of my spirituality. I was forced to find a new creative path, and that is where my lesson began. This speaks to me so much because moving back home, I feel like I've been forced to find a new creative path, and just the old ways of doing shit just don't work. And I've been wondering, why do things feel different? It's because I'm in a different phase of my life. I learned to turn my creativity over to the only God I could believe in, the God of creativity, the life force Dylan Thomas called the force that through the green fuse drives the flower. The force that through the green fuse drives the flower. I learned to get out of the way and let that creative force work through me. I learned to just show up at the page and write down what I heard. Writing became more like eavesdropping and less like inventing a nuclear bomb. I wish I had a fucking bomb to go with that, because that's hard as a motherfucker. So often I'm like, I have to invent. The pressure, the weight of innovation. But she's reminding us that, like, nigga, you are just a vehicle for an idea that already exists to come into the world. All you have to do is be an instrument yourself, be a vehicle. Writing became more like eavesdropping and less like inventing a nuclear bomb. It wasn't so tricky, and it didn't blow up on me anymore. I didn't have to be in a mood. I didn't have to take my emotional temperature to see if inspiration was pending. I simply wrote. No negotiation. Good, bad. None of my business. That's the approach I want us to take to even content. Good, bad, none of my fucking business. We just need to show up. We just need to do the reps. I wasn't good, bad, none of my business. I wasn't doing it. By resigning as the self-conscious author, I wrote freely. In retrospect, I'm astounded I could let go of the drama of being a suffering artist. How many of us are just suffering out here? Oh mama, I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of suffering. Mama, I'm tired of being a suffering artist. Living below my potential. Thinking about a greater life but never actually touching it. I'm tired. I'm tired of being a suffering artist, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. I'm tired of being a suffering artist, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. I'm tired of being a motherfucking suffering artist, and I'm not gonna take it no more. Oh my God. We can oh my God for that. I love everything she kicking right now, you heard me? The position of the artist is humble. They are essentially just a channel. Let's see. We can charge so many things off to our suffering artist identity. Drunkenness, promiscuity, financial problems, a certain ruthlessness or self-destructiveness in matters of the heart. We all know how broke, crazy, promiscuous, unreliable artists are. And if they don't have to be, then what's my excuse? I feel like I'm at motherfucking church reading this book, dog. I feel like I'm at motherfucking church reading this book, dead ass. The idea that I could be sane, sober, and creative terrified me, implying as it did the possibility of personal accountability. Say, bro, why is this lady fucking reading me for filth right now? This white lady don't even know me and she's reading me for fucking filth right now, bro. I gotta read this shit again. The idea that I could be sane, sober, and creative terrified me, implying as it did the possibility of personal accountability. You mean if I have these gifts, I'm supposed to use them? Nigga, yes. Providentially, I like that. That's a good transition. Providentially, I was sent another blocked writer to work with and on at this time. I began to teach him what I was learning. Get out of the way. Let it work through you. Accumulate pages, not judgment. Accumulate pages, not judgment. Accumulate pages, not judgment. I love this. Let me check my phone to make sure I'm not missing any fucking. Accumulate pages, not judgment. Accumulate music, not judgment. And then put it out. He too began to unblock. Now there were two of us. Soon I had another victim. This one painter. The tools worked for visual artists too. This was very exciting to me. In my grander moments, I imagined I was turning into a creative cartographer, mapping a way out of confusion for myself and for whoever wanted to follow. I never planned to become a teacher. I was only angry I'd never had a teacher myself. Wow. That's how I became a teacher too. I didn't plan to become a teacher. I didn't even want to do this shit. But once I started doing it, I realized I was passionate about it. And here's another thing a teacher taught me. You don't really know something until you could teach it. Because being able to teach it implies that you've gone through the routes, you've gone through the rigors, and you've observed it, and you know it in a methodical enough way to teach a formula. Why did I have to learn what I learned the way I learned it? All by trial and error, all by walking in the walls. We artists should be more teachable, I thought. Shortcuts and hazards of the trail could be flagged. These were the thoughts that eddied with me as I took my afternoon walks, enjoying the light off the Hudson, plotting what I would write next. Into the marching orders. I was to teach. Within a week, I was offered a teaching position at a space at the New York Feminist Arts Institute, which I had never heard of. My first class, block painters, novelists, poets, and filmmakers assembled itself. That should be incredible to me. Sometimes I'll read stories and people will be like, they just started acting on guidance and their lives begin to change. Because in my mind, in my lore, everything has to be hard. Everything takes time. Everything is like this grueling process. But I've been getting reminded, like, when you change your receptivity, when you change your vibration, change can be fucking instant. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if change is not instant, you can't depend on the physical manifestation of shit. You can't let that dictate what kind of vibration and energy you bring at the same time too. So it goes both ways. I began teaching them the lessons that are now in this book. Since that class, there have been many others and many more lessons as well. God must become an activity in our consciousness. That's a fucking bar. God must become an activity in our consciousness. I love that. The Artist Way began as informal class notes mandated by my partner, Mark Bryan. As word of mouth spread, I began mailing out packets of material. A peripatetic Jungian? A peripatetic Jungian. What the fuck does peripatetic? What the fuck does peripatetic mean? What the fuck does peripatetic mean, chat? Parapet. A low protective wall along the edge of a roof. Traveling from place to place, in particular working or based in various places for relatively short period. Shit, that's me, nigga. I'm hella peripatetic. A person who travels from place to place. Interesting. Okay. Could y'all see that shit? I don't know if y'all can see that shit. Peripatetic. Okay. Anyway. A peripatetic Jungian. John Gianni spread word of the techniques wherever he lectured, seemingly everywhere. Let me get off this view. That's the word right there, y'all. That nigga listening to Sade now. That's good. I'm happy this nigga's finally listening to some real music. I'm like, nigga, listen to some real nigga shit, dog. Not all that young boy shit. Alright. Requests for materials always follow. Next, the Creation Spirituality Network got word of the work, and people wrote in from Dubec, British Columbia, Indiana. Students materialized all over the globe. I am in Switzerland with the State Department. Please send me. So I did. The packets expanded and the number of students expanded. Finally, as the result of some very pointed urging from Mark, write it all down. You can help a lot of people. It should be a book. I began formally to assemble my thoughts. I wrote, and Mark, who was by this time my co-teacher and taskmaster, told me what I had left out. I wrote more, and Mark told me what I had still left out. Please don't put L Reader in the chat, nigga. I'm doing the best I can, okay? All right, and I'm trying not to read quickly. He reminded me that I had seen plenty of miracles to support my theories and urged me to include these too. I put on the page what I had been putting into practice for a decade. The resulting pages emerged as a blueprint for do-it-yourself discovery, like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation or the Heimlich maneuver. The tools in this book are intended as lifesavers. Please use them and pass them on. Many times I've heard words to this effect. Before I took your class, I was completely separate from my creativity. The years of bitterness and loss had taken a toll. Then gradually the miracles started to happen. I've gone back to school to get my degree in theater, and I'm auditioning for the first time in years. I'm writing on a daily basis, and most important of all, I finally feel comfortable calling myself an artist. A lot of people don't feel comfortable calling themselves an artist. That shit is so fucking crazy to me, dog. Like, we were created by a creator. We were created by God. And the good book says we're made in the image of. But a lot of people don't feel comfortable calling themselves creators or artists. And what's more artistic than living? What's more as a woman? What's more artistic than creating a life? Right? And to me, this just goes back to even conversations about abundance and wealth and just like love. A lot of us don't feel like what we naturally are. We've been created in the image of these things, but we don't feel like them. They're our natural inheritance, but we deny ourselves access to our natural inheritance. Who taught us to hate ourselves? Nigga, you're an artist. You're a creator. You create a life whether you're intentional about it or not. So you might as well just bask in it confidently and and just fucking do it. And talk your shit. Let your nuts hang. Let your ovaries hang. Let your creative ability shine. Like, because really we can't do nothing else anyway. Whether you want to do it or not, you are a creator. You're either gonna be an extraordinary one. You're gonna approach it with a spirit of courage, or you're gonna be a pussy about it. And there are no rewards for being a pussy. Everybody that made history was like, they fucking stood on business. You heard me? There's no rewards for being scary in this bitch. None. And we all going to the same destination, people. Somehow we know that and we still fucking waste time, dog. What the fuck? Make it make sense. We need reminders. Go to a cemetery. Go kick it in a cemetery. Go volunteer at a hospice. Go visit the sick. And go visit your elders. And you'll be quickly reminded about the temporary nature of life and the fact that we're all going there. You know what I'm saying? Many times, let's keep it moving. I doubt I can convey to you the feeling of the miraculous that I experienced as a teacher, witnessing the before and after in the lives of students. Over the duration of the course, the sheer physical transformation can be startling, making me realize that the term enlightenment is a literal one. Enlightenment. Wow. Students' faces often take on a glow as they contact their creative energies. The same charged spiritual atmosphere that fills a great work of art can fill a creativity class. She's speaking to me as a teacher as well. This is the beauty and love I feel as an educator. I often tell my students that walking into a classroom is a stage. And when I go on a stage, it's a classroom. Like, I don't treat them as two separate things. They're two separate audiences. But when I go inside of a classroom, I'm performing. To me, that's why I'm such a fucking bomb educator and students love me. The energy. I'm approaching this shit like I'm performing. And when I'm on a stage, when I'm performing for people, I know I'm performing, but I'm also approaching that shit like a teacher. Because people don't just want to be entertained. They want to be educated as fucking well. You hear me? You dig? In a sense, as we are creative beings, our lives become our work of art. What the fuck have I been saying this whole fucking time? What have I been saying this whole time? I've been saying that the whole time, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to call it a wrap. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to start off day one. I feel like, let me see what to expect. It's kind of like more, it's like more, it's a couple more chapters of like preliminary stuff, you dig? But I'm gonna just go through it. We're gonna go through it. It's gonna be a fucking journey together, you heard me? I'm not rushing. I'm not rushing. The biggest thing we wanted to do was get started. The biggest thing we wanted to do is get started. And I started on time. July 1st. That was my goal. You heard me? With that being said,